Hello to everyone. I'm Igor Novakovic, the head of the Southeastern Europe section of the New Geopolitics Research Network, and today we will talk about the so-called Kosovo non-paper. Recently, the information space of the Balkans was stirred by the news about the two non-papers regarding Bosnia and Herzegovina. Emotions about these two documents did not subside when a new non-paper appeared, this time about Kosovo. What is this Kosovo-related non-paper, and where did it come from? How it was perceived in Belgrade and Pristina, and will it have any impact on the Serbian-Kosovo dialogue? We will try to answer these questions together with Igor Novakovic, the research director of the Belgrade-based International and Security Affairs Center, the ISAC Fund. Mr. Novakovic, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So let's start with the questions about what is this non-paper? What is this main idea?
Well, the main idea is to avoid again the partition along the ethnic borders in Kosovo, which was a proposal that was pushed allegedly during the past few years by former president of Kosovo, Mr. Hashim Thaci and Mr. Vucic. And to find a new solution that would respect Kosovo's territorial integrity. However, it proposes some new solutions that were not discussed before in the dialogue. And the two most prominent aspects or solutions are, first, the autonomy for the Serbs in the north, which was the main choking point for Belgrade-Pristina relations for the past 12 years. And then the second thing that was also proposed is a sort of self-governance for the Serbian Orthodox Church in Kosovo. Also, the paper foresees the implementation of the elements of the Brussels dialogue, agreed elements of from the Brussels dialogue between Belgrade and Pristina, which were not implemented until now, and that is the Association of Serb Majority Municipalities.
And who do you think can stand behind this non-paper? So who benefits?
Well, of course, like it was the case with so-called Janša non-paper on Bosnia and Herzegovina, there are speculations. I mean, we do not know for sure. It had just appeared in Pristina's daily Cohaditore. They said that it's a sort of joint Franco-German proposal. Opposition media in Serbia speculate that Mr. Vucic, president of Serbia, is behind it, but we do not know for sure. The reactions were quite different in both Belgrade and Serbia, but it seems that whomever is the author of the paper, that his or her intention was to probe the public and to see the reaction to this plan, because I assume that this paper did not leak accidentally.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned already about the reactions in Belgrade and Pristina. Can you go a bit deeper in this issue? So, and also we had that the Serbian President Aleksandar Vucic, he was not surprised by the appearance of such a non-paper regarding Kosovo, but he said that it is unacceptable for Serbs, but his reaction was not as sharp as it could be. So how can you explain this?
Of course. Well, I personally, first to underline, I don't think that Belgrade has anything to do with the production of the paper, but some of the solutions in it are certainly music for their ears. Why? Because, as I said, it proposed two new topics that were not previously a part of the Brussels negotiations, and the international mediators and Pristina also did not want to discuss it because they thought that all of these issues are solved either through the Ahtisaari plan or through the Brussels dialogue, or the results of the Brussels dialogue. For Belgrade, it is really important. I think that these two aspects, the autonomy for the Serbs in the north of Kosovo and the self-governance for the church, came into the discourse because they were out previously. So, on the other hand, paper is not specific. It does not say Serbia should recognize the independence of Kosovo, but the language that was used could be interpreted as such. So Mr. Vucic was fast to say this is unacceptable because it asks Serbia to recognize the independence of Kosovo. However, these elements are something really important and way more that Serbia got until now through the Brussels dialogue. On the other hand, of course, in Pristina, the reaction was rather negative, but there were some voices that said, okay, maybe this is a solution that could settle the situation in Kosovo and give Serbia something it wants while preserving Kosovo's territorial integrity. But on the other hand, we saw what is the official reaction, actually, the reaction of Mr. Kurti, who was in Brussels several days after Mr. Vucic's visit a week ago, and who we can interpret his words as not willingness to discuss these topics at all, because he referred to Ahtisaari plan as a final and ultimate compromise that Pristina was able to give to accept. Nevertheless, this compromise was actually designed by the international community or the West as a price for the independence of Kosovo, and Kosovo side did not have much say in whole process before the proclamation of independence in 2008.
Mm-hmm. To you, Mike, can this non-paper somehow affect the Serbian-Kosovo dialogue in the nearest future, let's say?
Well, officially, probably not in next few months. I think that this non-paper is important because it opened new questions that could be discussed in Brussels. Maybe they will become a part of the agenda, but not in this moment. I see it more. I see it more as as having an impact on the dialogue in a long run than in the next few months.
So recently, the EU High Representative Josep Borrell announced a meeting on 11th of May with Serbian President Aleksandar Vucic, which will be the part of the Kosovo-Serbia dialogue. But Albin Kurti has stated that he wouldn't be present in Brussels that day. So does it mean that we will not see the resumption of the dialogue in the nearest future?
I think that we shall, but the main problem with that is that we have to follow also the domestic discourses in Serbia and Kosovo. So when Mr. Vucic met with Borrell and other EU officials, in the press in Kosovo was quite harsh on Mr. Kurti, blaming him that he does not have even a say when the dialogue will continue, because this was announced when he was not in Brussels. He was not present there. So obviously, in my interpretation of all of this is that he actually just answered to this domestic criticism, and furthermore, he built up his personality that he's a public personality, that he's not the one with whom Brussels or any side could deal lightly. So he has to be respected.
Mm-hmm.
But in any case, I expect it to be resumed soon in next month or so, during next month or so.
And do you consider it to be some kind of fruitful if the dialogue is resumed? Do you
I
expect
don't.
any practical results from this dialogue?
Not of course, on its inception, no. First, because we have a new negotiator in Pristina. All the members of the negotiating team, like, are, participated before in the dialogue, like Mr. Bjerim Šalja. But the point is that the head behind the team is Mr. Kurti, who is a completely new player. Therefore, he has to build up his position, and the two sides need to meet. I mean, it would be quite unrealistic to expect that now the new, when we have completely new elite in Kosovo, that the dialogue could produce some tangible results in the short run. I will just recall you, when Mr. Vucic came to power in 2012, Brussels dialogue was ongoing, but it needed almost a year to produce the 2013 Brussels Agreement. And furthermore, Mr. Vucic was in much weaker position than Mr. Kurti. Kurti will have to completely stabilize first his government. Furthermore, what is the element that we should also take into account is that both in Serbia and Kosovo, new round of elections is coming.
Yeah, that's the question I would like you to ask. Next.
In Kosovo, we will have a new round of local elections, and no doubt that Mr. Kurti will use this opportunity to solidify his government and to remove the local leaderships of now opposition parties in the municipalities in Kosovo. So he will try to win all of them, even the strongholds, like for example, the municipality of Dečan, which is for years now led by Ramush Haradinaj's Alliance for the Future of Kosovo. In Serbia, the situation is even more complex, because we will have elections on all levels. So we will have presidential elections, parliamentary elections, and also elections for the city of Belgrade, which are probably, apart from these first two, the most important elections in the state. What I'm trying to say is that Mr. Vucic will not risk to make any meaningful compromise, which is not really completely positive for Serbia in the pre-election period. And I would say that the same goes for Mr. Kurti. So if we put everything into perspective, I don't think that we will have any tangible breakthrough at least until February, March next year, depending on when Serbian elections will happen. And of course, as always in the dialogue between Serbia and Kosovo, what is important is not just to make a compromise or to agree on something, to have a paper where the two representatives of the two sides will sign. The main question is implementation. So yes, maybe we can have even the agreement, I don't know, next April or June, July, whatever. But the most challenging part is implementation. And thus, if I was the mediator, I would more think about that, what was agreed to be implemented, and not about the speed of the process per se.
Yes, I fully agree with you that implementation is the most difficult part. So,
just to put into perspective, so in 2013, the Brussels Agreement was reached. Some elements, like the association/community of Serb majority municipalities, is not implemented to the date, and that gives you something. Many elements of that agreement, even technical agreements in between 2011 and 2013, it took years for them to be implemented. So that's our reality.
Okay. Thank you for your comment. This was Igor Novakovic, the research director of the Belgrade-based International and Security Affairs Center, the ISAC Fund, on the topic about the so-called Kosovo non-paper.